2 Samuel chapter 18 verse 33. Let's read together. And the king was moved, and he went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And as he went thus, he said, "Oh, my son, Absalom, my son, Absalom, would God I have died for thee, O Absalom, my son, my son." Chapter 19, verse 1 of the same 2 Samuel. And it was told Joab, "Behold, the king weepeth, mourned for Absalom." Verse 2. And the victory that day was turned into mourning, and unto all the people, for the people heard say that day how the king was grieved for his son. Verse 3, let's read together. And the people got them by the stealth that day in the city, as the people, being ashamed, steal away when they flee in battle. Verse 4. But the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, "Oh, my son, Absalom, oh, Absalom, my son, my son." And Joab came into the house to the king and said, "Thou hast shamed this day the face of all thy servants, which this day have saved thy life, and the lives of thy sons and of thy daughters, and the lives of all thy wives, and the lives of all thy concubines." Verse 6. "In that thou lovest thy enemies and hatest thy friend, for thou hast declared this day that thou regardest neither princes nor servants. For this day I perceive that if Absalom had lived, all we had died this day, then it had pleased thee well." Let's read verse 7 together. "Now therefore arise, go forth, and speak comfortably unto thy servants. For I swear by the Lord, if thou go not forth, there will not tarry one with thee this night, and that will be worse unto thee than all the evil that befell thee from the youth until now." Then the king arose and sat in the gate, and they told unto all the people, saying, "Behold, the king doth sit in the gate." And all the people came before the king, for Israel had fled every man to his tent. May the Lord bless the reading of his word. Sit down on your enemy's head. You don't choose the kind of tears you share. Sometimes strong men do cry. And if you've not gotten to a point where you break down like David like this, it's just because you are not yet a star or a general. First of all, to tell you in my topic that no more tears, it must be that you have shed tears. And if you have not shed one, please look for one, because if it comes to you from a direction that you are not prepared, it will hit you badly. Papa, are you trying to say I should cry? Yes. There's a point you get to that you have to cry. In fact, in the whole Bible, there is no place where the Bible says Jesus laughed. And the shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept. Even God, the creator of heaven and earth, could not stop tears. So I've heard people say, "Hey, Papa, I just don't know why. This life is so cruel. I'm tired." Maybe you don't understand what it means to be anointed. Because when you are anointed, there are certain tears you cannot avoid in life.
Papa, are you praying for us to cry? No. I'm just telling you that. Except it's not this earth. Something must make you cry. Papa, what are you saying? Are you prophesying that we should cry? No. Just as you never prophesied to come to the world crying. How many of you, if you've been in the favor room or labor ward, whenever a child comes out and the child has not cried, there's trouble with the mother, trouble with the midwife, trouble all around. Sometimes the midwife will have to beat the child so that the child cry out. The tears of the child is the joy of the mother. Oh, you don't get me. You don't understand. I say the tears of the child, the cry of the child is the joy of the mother. Because as the mother sits down weak, lie down weak, and she hear the cry of the child, there is a strength that comes. I gave birth to a living child. If the child have not cried, the mother at the position where she lie down, she's asking the midwife, the nurse, what is going on? Is my baby alive? What is going on? The nurse or the midwife will say, Madam, hold on. Because the mother joy is to hear that there is a cry and not a laugh of a baby, but a cry of a baby. Am I communicating? Every one of you here, when you came to this war, why is it that you did not learn how to laugh, but you learn how to cry? Because it's systematic. You came to the war, and as soon as you came out of your mother, you start saying, the mother and the midwife will run away. They say, we have given birth to a wish. But you can, why? Have you ever asked yourself, why a child? Who taught the child that is 1 day old to start crying? You know why the child is crying? The battles I'm about to fight in this sinful world. The child come to the war with a prophetic eye. So as soon as the child enters the war, he says, oh, the womb of my mother was safer. But now, here am I in a troublesome war. The next 90 years of my life, I'm about to go from one obstacle to another obstacle, from one trouble to another trouble. So every one of you came to the wall as a prophet. That is why you burst out of tears for the challenges of life that you're about to face. No. It is not stupid for the child who had not known anything to start crying. There would have been an option of laugh. And if there was no option of laugh, in this war, ye shall have many tribulation. But my assignment today is to stop the tears. I thought somebody is hearing me. I say my assignment today is to stop the tears. Are you hearing me there? Are you hearing me over there? Are you hearing me over there in the gallery and everywhere? My assignment is to stop you from crying. Oh God, it is okay to cry, but it is not okay to continue to cry. And that's why I'm here to tell you, no more tears. The way I hear somebody shouting, it's like that person is enjoying the tears. I say, no more, no more, no more. No more tears. No more tears. Let me tell you about David. The Bible called David a man after God's own heart. David apparently was the 8th son of Jesse. And 8 means a new beginning. David was a man with a unique, peculiar destiny. David was a man that was rearing the father's animal and was in the bush. And one day God raised up Prophet Samuel and told him, go down. For how long will you continue to mourn So David came as a result of a prophet crying for the failure of Israel. Because Saul had failed God, and God told Samuel to tell Saul that obedience is better than sacrifice. And Saul came on board, follow me, and then Saul failed God, and God began to speak to Samuel because Samuel began to cry because they demanded for a king. The problem Nigeria is going through now is because we demanded for what we have today. We brought whatever we have on ourselves the way we want it. We demanded for a change and we have received the change. Am I talking to somebody here? And so the children of Israel were crying over the kind of change that came. And so God told Samuel, he said, for how long will you continue to cry? For how long will you continue to cry and mourn? He said, rise up now. Because when a prophet cries, the nation is in trouble. When the prophet cries, destinies are tied down. So God told Samuel not to cry. He said, no more tears, Samuel. You cannot continue to mourn. You see, to cry is within a space of time. But to mourn is to spend days crying. So you must understand, mourning is an elder brother of crying. And God told Samuel, you cannot continue to mourn this way. Now, go over to the family of Jesse, pick me somebody. And David eventually was anointed a king. David enjoyed a life of celebrity in the presence of Prophet Samuel. Beautiful. And David went over one day to give his brothers food. And when he got there, he met one uncircumcised Philistine challenging the army of God. And David fought a battle with Goliath and picked 5 stones with a sling. And hear me, David never had internal battles. His battles were usually external. And David ensured he was not in close proximity with Goliath. So the ability to kill Goliath was from a distance. So every attack David ever had in his life, as per battle, it was not at a closer range. David never saw what it means to have betrayal. In fact, he had a close friend called Jonathan. Very wonderful. So David was always having favor, assistance. And so the life of tears was not there. He ascended the throne, he became a king, and all his brothers bowed to him. Excellent life. You see, when the going is good, God is God. And when the going is bad, God is still God. Can I go further and talk to you before I move? My message is very short. Now hear me. God knows the deficiency of David, and yet he still chose David. God knows the weakness of David, and yet he still anointed David. Look at your neighbor and say, I didn't choose myself. You choose me. Say it, I didn't call myself. The way you are talking, I don't understand. He called me. Say, I didn't lift up myself. He lifted me up. Say it again. God knows your deficiency, but yet he gave you that husband. God knows your deficiency, and yet he gave you that wife. God knows you are not perfect, and yet he makes you a CEO. God knows that you are going to fall, and yet he puts you on top. God knows that you are going to cry, but yet God made you there. God knows you are lazy, but yet God gave you a position that a lion should occupy. God knows you are fearful, but yet God makes you a confronter.
altar. God knows you are going to fall, but yet God make you the standard. Can I talk to somebody here? Despite the weakness of David, God, who is the omniscience, who knows the ending from the beginning, the middle from the beginning, who knows everything, still choose David. See that? The last time I checked, I never saw any brothers of David having reckless life maritally. And I wonder how God, who is omniscience, can look at a man like David and knew that David was going to sleep with Bathsheba and yet pick up David. No. That's not wrong. That's not right. One day, kings were going to battle. David stayed at home and was patrolling and lost after a woman called Bathsheba and then committed adultery with her. Now, fine. After that, look for a way to look for the husband to come and sleep with the wife so that the wife will be assumed, so that the husband will feel this is my baby. The man came home. He said, how can I sleep with my wife when there is battle against my king? Loyalty. What a wonderful man, so loyal to his father, to a nation. And yet, David became angry. And they were best of friends with this man. To tell you how wicked the heart of David looked like. And yet, God called him a man after my heart. How can this man be after my heart? A man with this kind of wicked attitude. He now wrote a letter and said, okay, army generals, Joab, Abishai, Ittai, every one of you, take Uriah. Let him go to the hottest part of the battle. While he's in the middle of the battle, all of you fall back and allow him to be consumed by his own sword. And they took him down. The man went to the battle thinking that the king had supported him. Every generals were fighting hand in hand. And when the battle was fierce, they all gave themselves signal. They withdraw the other troops backward and allowed this man to be consumed, and he died. And then, when I was studying the scripture, I said, God, you knew David is going to be as wicked as this. And you made David a king. And you prefer David among the sons of Jesse than every other one. And God began to show me the meaning of grace. That grace is not qualification. Grace is the excessive love of God showered on a man despite his weakness. But God decided to pick him for one reason that might not be relevant to you. Oh, you don't hear me? Grace is the excessive love of God showered on a man despite his weakness. God have a reason to pick the man and ignore all his weakness for one reason. How can God say in the womb of Rebekah, Jacob I love, Esau I hate? How can you love a supplanter? How can you love a 419? How can you love a bet stealer? How can you love a man who is so cunning like Jacob and now hate a man that is sincere like Esau? Sit down. I know I'm righteous. That's true. But my righteousness will be defined by my maker. This is it. Sometimes you think you are holy than somebody else.
But the person you think you are holy than, God prefers him than you. I'm teaching here now.
That is why he's a judge. If he has not judged a man, don't try to judge the man, because he knows the intent, he knows the heart, he knows the motive, he knows the reason, he knows why, and he knows the beginning before the beginning began. So he knows the reason. So when you try to judge a man that God has not judged, you will mesmerize your destiny. Peter, I know you are going to deny me 3 times. You will tell people that you don't know me. But nevertheless, Peter, upon this rock shall I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail. To you, Peter, have I given the keys of the kingdom. I don't care what people think about you, but I have given the keys of the kingdom, using the foolish things of this earth to confirm the wisdom of the wise. Be not wise in thy own way, but in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path.
Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Stop claiming that you are righteous than another person. Run a personal race.
Don't use your righteousness to compare to another person, because your righteousness might just be wickedness in the eyes of God.
You don't get me. You don't get me. You don't get me. Shabakato yata. Brako site yada. Magazute yada. Mabro sikete ya. Am I talking to somebody here?
Why bless a man that you know will fail? Why pick up a man that you know will backslide? Why?
So God began to tell me, you see, son, you don't understand how I measure and judge the world.
I don't judge the world based on your capacity. I judge the world based on you depending on me, not depending on your self-righteousness. Because by your self-righteousness, you are not qualified. I am the one that qualified the unqualified. Apple your neighbor and say, neighbor, God has chosen you. I say, apple your neighbor, say, neighbor, God has chosen you. You are the next breakthrough. You are the next person. You are going to shine. Either they like it or not, God have chosen you. They might not like your face, but God have chosen you. They might not accept you, but God has chosen you. They might not want to see you, but God has chosen you. They might not want to stay around you, but God has chosen you. Tell your neighbor, say, neighbor, God have chosen me. Say, God have chosen me. Say, God have chosen me. Say, neighbor, I see you. You are the choice of God. Say, you are the choice of God. Look at me. Tell your neighbor, say, you are the choice of God. You are the choice of God. Say, neighbor, you are going from glory to glory, from favor to favor. Shout fire. I'm not hearing that fire where? I'm not hearing that fire where? I'm not hearing that fire where? Tell your neighbor, say, neighbor, you might not be educated, but God have chosen you. You might be a dropout, but God have chosen you. You might be a tomato seller, but God have chosen you. You might come from a poor background, but God have chosen you. You might be battered, shattered, but God have chosen you. You might be an improper fraction, but God have chosen you. You might not be accepted, but God have chosen you. You might be tolerated, but God have chosen you. You might be rejected, dejected, but God have chosen you. Tell your neighbor, you are the choice of God.
There are certain revelation that is for my consumption. I can't share it. If I tell you the way this scripture is, that's why people like us, we follow God and we are calm. We don't talk anyhow. You will never see me talk against another man of God, because I have understand this scripture very well. You don't hear me well. You don't hear me well. what David did was wickedness, witchcraft. And I don't understand how a man can carry the Spirit of God and do that kind of thing. It was a raw wickedness. It was not enough that he committed adultery. It was not still enough. He went further. Killed the man. And yet, he is a man after God's own heart. How can this man be after God's own heart? Have you heard the scripture that said, Abraham staggered not at the promises of God? How can you say that? When Haggai came, how can you say that when Ishmael came? How can you say Abraham did not stagger? More than stagger, he fainted. You don't hear me? Sarah said, go and sleep with my housemate. Abraham never argued. He slept with her. Ishmael came out. The rest generation that is opposing us, from the same father, Islam and Christianity came out. And God knew that this man was going to do this, and God permitted it. And yet God called Abraham my friend, my covenant son. And he did not stagger. And the Bible says, Abraham believed God, and it was accredited to him. God just dashed him. The guy have F9. God gave him 96 mark and said, get distinction. It was accredited to him as righteousness. Not that he was righteous. Don't try to show God that you are righteous. Try to enter into the favor and grace book of God. Two people went to pray. One said to God, I pay my tithe. I do other things. I gave alms to the beggar. I am not like this other one. God said, no, that's not what I want. I don't want you to bring your CV of righteousness. I want you to say, by my grace, I am what I am. So when you enter into the holies of holies, you come in the initiation of my blood. You come by the excessive mercy that you have earned on the cross of Calvary. Because while yet you are a sinner, I fell in love with you. I am not in love with you because you are righteous. I was first in love with you in your dirty sin. Sit down. Can I go further? So, why David was relaxing at home and said, I have won the march. I kill and I cover my sin. A prophet came. Is it Nathan, the prophet? Came and said, come. And said, good man. Then gave a parable, prophetic parable. And said, what shall be done to this man? David rise up quickly to judge. He said, we will deal with the man. We will do that. And God said to David, you are the man. Hey! See. So even sinners know how to judge. Somebody who commits sin is immediately attacking the prophet. Tell the prophet, any man who did this thing as per this parable with the vineyard, we will kill the man. We will destroy the man. And the prophet said, you are the one who have done this thing. He went into complete comatose. And then he put on sackcloth and started crying. Now listen to me. Sit down, please. The greatest magic about David is that he knows how to commit sin and he knows how to ask for forgiveness. He did not hear me well. The guy knows how to ask God for forgiveness. He will put on sackcloth and begin to roll and cry. And God says, this man, what will I do for you? From the beginning I know you know how to ask for forgiveness. So because he's a loving, kind God, he doesn't want people to appear before him in their righteousness. He wants people to appear before him according to his loving kindness. And so, God passed a judgment and allowed David to go. David left, enjoying his life. He continued. And so, God waited for David at the junction of Absalom. Absalom was his eldest son. Very powerful son. Very wonderful son. I'm going somewhere. I want you to see this. If you are enjoying life now and there's no tears, it doesn't mean there will be no challenge. I told them in South Africa that there are two types of lights in life. The sunlight and the moonlight. And I said those who enjoy sunlight and those who rise up early in their life and they start shining and they don't see anything like darkness. At the middle of 2027, they are already rich, they are blessed. Everything about life is smooth. There's no sorrow, there's no pain, there's nothing. If you tell them that you have challenge, they laugh at you and say, I don't know what is called challenge in life. But suddenly, before they begin to enter into old age, darkness cut off their light. That is where they end. They rise up early and they die early. Their glory starts shining very earlier. And the next thing they see sorrow throughout the rest of their life. Before they exit this life, it is with sorrow and bitterness. And then there are these people who don't see any rising or anything. They start their life with battle, sorrow, tears, all manner of battle. But in the middle of the night of their life, where it looks like all hope are gone, 45, 50, then their light begin to shine. Then till they leave this earth, they don't know what is called sorrow. And even though there are challenges, their light continue to shine all through. And there are those who are fortunate all through their life and their nighttime, their daytime, they see light all through. See that? David now started seeing another kind of battle. Someone say another kind of battle. If you have never seen this kind of battle, you are not a general. People will come to meet David for judgment. David will sit on the throne and be judging the case rightly with a spirit of wisdom and counsel. Why they leave the palace and they are going out, Absalom will sit by the gate and ask them, that is David's son, biological son. We ask them, what did my father say to you people? Your father judged against me. So you see, such a wicked man. He does not know how to judge. But if I become king, I'm going to make sure that that land he took away from you, I will restore it back to you. Every judgment that David ever gave in the palace, Absalom went for them at the gate and spoke against his father without his father committing an offense. Now, can I say this? Don't ever think everybody close to you can become your integrity. Don't appoint people because they are your family member to be your spokesman, because you don't know their heart. This is a son that is going to be a king, but yet running down his father. Anybody can run you down as a king. And can I say, the greatest painful part of the battle was not the enemy of David, the Philistine. It was his own biological son that was running him down. If you have not gotten to this point in your life, when the people that run you down are the people that you love, you cannot kill them, you cannot do judgment against them, but you cry. Now, by this time, David never knew what was going on. The guy was running down the whole. The Bible says Absalom spoke against David to the extent that he bought all the heart of Israel. He bought all their heart. David had the Spirit of God. He was sitting on the throne. But an unbelieving son won the heart of everybody. to your followers, control your followers. Now, can I say this? And that's why when you are around a great man, you don't allow people around him to speak to you about him. You allow the Holy Spirit to speak to you about him. You judge the man as per your relationship with him, not about hearsay. Hearsay, no! Anybody can say anything at any time. A man of God is because this person is so close to the man of God, and whatever he says about the man of God is because he's bloodly related. No! They can be bloodly related and be blatant liars. They were Absalom was eyeing the throne. And can I talk to so many sons? Don't try to be your father overnight. What you see here in Iginla was not biscuit and pom-pom. If you cannot pay the price, then wait for your time. You don't hear me? Because inordinate ambition, we want to make you remove the one on the throne when his time is not over. Let me put it to you. Your own biological son is running you down. He doesn't see the throne as our throne. He sees it as his throne, not our throne. He doesn't see the majesty as our majesty. He sees it as his majesty. It becomes an error when a wife does not see the husband's success as our success. When you see your husband's success as his success, you want to kill him. This success is not my success. It's not your success. It's our success. Anytime the success of your wife is not our success, the success of your husband is not our success, you are an enemy in the camp. Your husband bought a car, and you ask, which name did you put there? So you put your name? I don't think it's my car. Put my name and my father's name. You can see the way you are thinking. You have removed yourself from the family you are forming with your husband. You have minus yourself as a minus. You are now seeing him as an outsider and not an insider. Each time your father in the love strike a point in the spirit realm and is progressing, and you don't see it is progress as our progress, and you begin to say, I want to make my own progress. You be like Absalom. So many Absalom in the camp. They are prince, they have all that it takes, they drive their car, they are honored, but they still want the throne of David. They are not satisfied with their branch. They are not satisfied with their blessing, but they want the Father's glory. Anytime you want your father's throne, you want your father's death. David was supposed to die before Absalom. But because Absalom had an inordinate ambition, Absalom collected the death of David and postponed the death of David. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Can I talk to you? Can I talk to you? How dare you run down your wife? How can you be an enemy of your wife? Are you listening to that wish? How can you make your wife look like a witch? There are so many of you. Your problem is that you are an Absalom spirit. An Absalom spirit will never defend its own. It will pull down its own. An Absalom spirit. Mark chapter 3. Let me show you something. The truth doesn't have marketers. Tell your neighbor, marketing the truth.
I did not hear you well. The way you are talking, I don't know whether you are saying it well. Mark 3:13. Mark chapter 3, verse 13. And he went forth up into a mountain and called unto him whom he would have. And they came unto him, verse 14. And he ordained 12 that they should be with him, that he might send them forth to preach.
Can I say this? There is no master anywhere
That can market himself.
God is Alpha and Omega, but needed 12 marketers to market him all over the world.
No, hear me well.
Jesus cannot market himself. Have you ever seen the owners of Coca-Cola marketing themselves? Have you seen? So they use other people to market. You see people dramatize and do some Coca-Cola. And the people that are drinking that Coca-Cola, are they the owner? But they are marketing the owners of Coca-Cola. I've traveled so many nations, there's nowhere you will not find Coke. It has become like water. It is in every nation. But the owner, you don't know them. But there are people marketing them. The problem why the gospel cannot go abroad, we don't have marketers of truth. We are demarketing what we should market. You don't hear me well. We are demarketing what we should market. There are no truth marketers. The reason why Jesus picked 12 disciples and not followers, because a disciple will market his master. Look at verse 14. Verse 13, he took them to the mountain. Verse 14, he ordained them to stay. Watch it. And he ordained the 12 and they should be with him. Some of you, after ordination, you have gone out. After he ordained them, they stayed with him. What are you going to market when you have not known him? Somebody just finished Bible school, he's already a pastor. He has not finished, he's already calling himself a bishop. But watch this. He trained them, he ordained them, and they still stayed with him. After they stayed with him, they learned from him. Then he told them, go. If your father does not release you, you release yourself. You have released yourself to failure. Real disciples will be ordained and they will learn at the apostles' feet. Truth lack marketers. If I'm preaching now, and all the message I'm saying now is very powerful, one mistake that I make now in this sermon, some of you will market it than the truth. Sit down, let me talk to you. If there's one gossip against your prophet, you can market that gossip. But when he gave widows here, you will not market it. When he gave orphans here, you will not market. When he make altar calls for salvation, you will not market. When he called people to make heaven, you will not market. When he go from one nation to another nation, winning souls for Christ, you will not market. When he built house for widows, you will not market. When he gave out 32 cars, you will not market. But if there is one mistake, you market. Who are you? Are you a witch or a marketer of truths? The truth lack marketers. You are not here to watch me talk. You are here to hear the truth, get convinced, and market the truth. Buy the truth and sell it not. Hear this. When you are a true follower, you market truth and not lie. Sit down. Hear this. Because at the time Jesus was doing his ministry, the disciples were always with him, and there were nobody to market. Some demons were trying to market him, and he had to shut. Have you seen where the Bible saying, and he shut them up and said, keep quiet. They say, hey, Jesus,
thou son of David, he rebuked them and charged them not to speak, because I cannot allow a demon to market me, because a demon is a demon.
Sons, are you Absalom? Daughters, are you Absalom? Can you be in the house and you are demarketing a product that should have made you better? Absalom was under the care of David. Absalom had his own mansion. Absalom was enjoying his life, but yet was running down his father. I used to think it is because some people are not cared for. That is why they run people down. But I have discovered a wish is a wish. How can I be in love with you? How can we be tied and I'm running you down, and at the same time coming to the palace? After Absalom has run down David by the gate, he will come down and say, Your Majesty. And David will say, Son, you are welcome. He will enter the palace, lie down in the same mansion, but yet he's running down his own father. When cripples walk here, did you market it? When blind see here, did you market it? When prophecies came to pass, did you market it? When somebody that was barren for 20 years had a baby, did you market it? When a widow built out 4-bedroom, did you market it? When you came here single and a lot are married, getting married, did you market it? What are you marketing? A lie in the midst of multitude of truth. I ask you, are you a demon? Are you an agent of darkness? How can you not see the truth and say the truth? Why are you demarcating what God has given as a product that is high? Now listen to me. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down, please. Sit down, please. You know, in economics, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. And the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. Now listen to me. Hear this. Even both in the law of demand and supply. But can I say this to you? The product of a manufacturer is inconsequential without a marketer. Those of you who study marketing, you understand. That a product can be cheap. If there are no marketers, there will be no demand for it. And a product can be high. If there are marketers, the demand for that product can be high. Because marketers can demystify the price and tell you, forget about the price. Look at the product, the quality, the make. It's not so make, not so make, not Guari make, not Abane. This product, it has this, it has that. So if marketers are on a product, it doesn't matter the price, people will go for it. The problem of truth and high quality material, the manufacturer, God, everything about truth is truth. But the problem is that truth does not have marketers. When people had cancer, they were healed. You did not market it. When HIV was healed, you did not market it. When asthma was healed, you did not market it. Within 6 months, more than 200 people have been saved from death. But when one person died, you market the one person to the detriment of 200 people that were saved. Truth lack marketers. He did not ordain them for followership. He ordained them to market the truth. That's why they were called eyewitness. They were witnessing to the truth that they saw. Every one of them have their perspective, revelation, foresight, not myopic, elaborative level of revelation. And they were able to testify as
testifiers of what they saw that Jesus of Nazareth did, and every one of them died marketing the truth.
Sit down. How can your husband be wicked? When he bought car for you, it's not wicked. When he built house for your father, it's not wicked. When he stood by you in sickness, it's not wicked. But the day he corrected you, he became a wicked man. How can your wife be a witch?
When you are about to die, she went to the hospital with you. She stood by you. When all your family members forsake you, she defended you. She took her heart and went out for you. But because she made one mistake, she has become a witch.
Market the truth. Can I talk to somebody here? Your pastor has suddenly become a wicked man. He paid your house rent for 6 years, but he's not a wicked man.
But the day he said, no, you are supposed to have paid. Now you have to pay for yourself. Then you said, that church is evil.
Let's say the truth to one another.
You came to the church single. You got married under the same church. Prophecy was released, you had your baby. Prophecy was released, breakthrough came. All of a sudden, somebody else is telling you about the same man of God that God used to bring you to the faith, to plant your feet, to tell you truth, and you are hearing. Are you not a witch? You are never a follower from the beginning. We are talking about the things we have heard, we have seen, we have touched, and testify of. Every time a man will meet you by the junction, carry you to church, carry you again, carry you, he's a good man. One day is passing and did not carry you, he drove. You say, wicked man. But can you tell yourself the truth? If you can market the truth, how many times has he carried you? So he has carried you for 20 times, but one day he refused to carry you. He has become a devil. Can you say this? Why are you demarketing truth? Why are you not marketing truth? Because the frequency of the rate at which you rate truth is the amount of time truth has happened to you, to the detriment of mistake.